What's up everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the How to Ride a Motorcycle series as taught by instructors, filmed at Seminole Harley-Davidson. In part 1, we went over getting familiar with the bike, from part names to starting it up, as well as learning to move the bike by walking it and using the clutch and friction zone. In part 2, we're continuing to build onto what we learned in part 1, so if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I highly recommend watching that first and following these videos in a chronological order as they build upon one another. All links to the videos in this series can be found in the description down below. Harley-Davidson offers what they call the Riding Academy at many of their dealerships, where you can learn to ride a motorcycle from certified Motorcycle Safety Foundation instructors. If you're interested in signing up, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. If this video is helpful, please be sure to hit that like button, as it helps the channel a lot. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button to see future content that we release. If you have any questions, please be sure to leave a comment down below.
This is starting and stopping drills, exercise number 3. Part 1 of this exercise is literally just going cone to cone to cone to cone. Take a couple steps, put your feet up, ride to the cone, stop, feet down, take a couple steps, feet up, ride to the next cone, feet down, all the way through. This is just getting us familiar with putting our feet up and friction zone and braking. Part 2, we're gonna stay in first gear, but we're gonna ride from the first cone, get some speed up, and ride all the way to the last cone. As you approach that last cone, start pulling your clutch in, using both your brakes to slow you down, so you come to a safe, complete stop. You guys want to see what it looks like? Yeah. Part 1 is going to be cone to cone to cone, all right? This is what it looks like. Look straight, take your steps, put your feet up, ride to the next cone. Feet down, take your steps, feet up, that was part 1. This is going to be part 2, from the first cone all the way to the last cone. Put your speed up a little bit, roll off, pull your clutch in, start your brake. When you're giving throttle, your clutch is all the way out. Okay?
Alright guys, so we're basically gearing up, going from first cone to last cone, stopping, turn, cone to cone, stopping. Lifting feet up, basically using the friction zone, but now we're starting to incorporate throttle so that we can actually feel what the bike feels like whenever we start giving it some throttle. You feel the power. All right, mounting up, front brake, leg over, lift up, kickstand up, key on, starter on, clutch in, starter, good to go. So you got orange circle and green circle. We are going to be on the green. All right, let's clutch in, shifting into first, using friction zone to walk to the green one. And we're on the green. And stop one. Letting off clutch, going to the next cone, easing out, walking, feet up, looking straight, pulling clutch in, applying brake, feet down, and we're good. And we're just going to repeat that again and again. Look where you're going when you're turning. We'll do that in the more advanced stuff here in a little bit. So easing off clutch, walking it, feet up, look where you're going, pulling clutch in, applying brake, feet down, rinse and repeat. So on this note, I mean, we're going to be going over this a little more here in the future, but whenever I'm turning, I'm aiming for that orange cone over there. So I'm easing out on clutch. I'm turning the bars since we're doing more low speed, but like I'm looking at the cone. So you don't want to look like directly in front of you. You want to look where you're going, and the bike will naturally follow. All right, that makes sense to you guys? Going over it one more time, letting out on the clutch lever until we get that friction zone. We're going, feet up, we're going, clutch in, applying brake, feet down. It's basically we're getting used to that friction zone still, going, stopping, putting your feet down, pulling the clutch in to not let the bike stall out. And then if you want, apply a little bit of throttle at this point. And then we're back down. just a little tiny bit of throttle. It's like we're slowly getting to learn the bike. So the good thing about these bikes is they do have crash protection on them. So as you guys can see, it sets on those bars so that it doesn't harm the bike at all.
Cone all the way down to the last cone. We want y'all to get to that pre-shift speed. So ease that clutch out, give it a little bit of gas. Let that clutch all the way out. Hold that clutch in. When you get to the end, clutch in, both brakes, nice smooth stop.
Alright guys, so now we are skipping the cones in the middle and we're going from the first cone to the last cone. So basically the longest stretch of distance that we've done thus far. Friction zone, a little bit of throttle, approaching that last one, and then stopping. Remember, while using the clutch, letting out, going through that friction zone, slowly coming back on throttle, picking your feet up, finding that balance, and then slowing back down and not dropping the bike or stalling it out. So this is entirely friction zone. I'm not using any throttle at all right now. As I'm approaching the last cone, I'm going to pull clutch in. I'm going to start applying front brake gently and putting my feet down. All right, so he said I can open it up a little bit, so we're going to incorporate a little bit more throttle. All right, so letting out on clutch, going through that friction zone, pulling back on throttle, feet up, find that center of balance, not hovering over the clutch, coming to a stop, clutch back on, release throttle, slowly applying front brake, feet down. That's it. So we're doing exactly the same thing every time, right? Letting off a clutch, pulling back on throttle, lifting your legs up, finding that balance point, getting to that last cone, pulling clutch back in, letting off a throttle, and putting your feet down. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So if you want to get there a little bit faster, you're going to just apply more throttle. So this whole relationship, I do have a video going over it very in depth, which I'll be sure to link down in the description below. Basically like clutch and throttle and shifting. It's all an equation. So as long as you do it all like in that same equation, you can take off like that, no problem. And get to the end, throttle off, applying brake, clutch in, feet down, good to go. So you see, I didn't really need to walk it too much because as I was going, I was applying throttle, and you know, that balance is like already there. So you see, like as I'm letting out on clutch now, I'm applying that throttle, and that's going to pull me forward. We're using that friction zone, throttle, applying brake, off the throttle, clutch in, down. That's it, rinse and repeat. All right, we're going to watch him as he does it. Headed back inside, reflect on what we just did, cool off a bit, let's go in there.
What was harder, part one or part two of that exercise? Part one. You're taking your steps, you know, starting and stopping. For those of you that learned how to drive a stick shift, what's the hardest part about learning how to drive a stick shift? Starting and stopping. That is your foundation for everything you do, is starting and stopping. Practice this on your own bike. Take those steps, put those feet up, and stop. Part two, we had to get that speed up a little bit, right? You know, it was easier because you're riding a longer distance. How important was it to let that clutch all the way out? Because if you held that clutch in, you could give a gas. It doesn't want you're taking the power. That transmission and that motor aren't meshed together, so you let that clutch out. All right, and when you're riding a longer distance, when you let that clutch out, try to get in the habit of putting that hand back around that hand grip because you have more control. Take your steps. The bike likes momentum. Why do you think we had y'all get to pre-shift speeds in this exercise? Get comfortable with it. And what do you think we're going to be doing on the next exercise? Shifting. If you're going too slow, when you pull that clutch in, what are you doing? You're coasting, correct? Right. So you want that momentum when you pull that clutch in while you're shifting to carry you through, and then you ease out the clutch and roll back on. If you don't have enough momentum, it's going to be really hard to shift. And once you get it into second, if the gear, the engine speed and road speed don't match, you might stall the bike, or it's going to chug, chug, chug. get that momentum up. All right, now I'm shifting. So everything builds off one another. Any questions on that one? Anything you'd like to add on?
Did y'all notice when y'all gave gas that the bike was still wobbly, or was it more stable? Stable. Bikes are designed to go, you know, on the power they're gonna go straight. The hardest part is maneuvering those slow speed maneuvers, all right? Good job.
Good job. About 5-10 minutes, and we'll get back to it. All right?
All right, guys, thanks for tuning into part 2. Please be sure to leave a comment with why you're interested in learning to ride motorcycles and if this video helped you out. Big thanks once again to Seminole Harley-Davidson and the Riding Academy coaches for the opportunity to film the class. Hopefully it helps many of you out there looking to get into the world of motorcycling. I hope the video was helpful. If it was, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Hitting that like button helps the channel a lot. And if you have any friends out there that are looking to learn to ride as well, be sure to give it a share. If y'all enjoy motorcycle content, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon as well so it sends you notifications of future uploads and activity. And until next time, you guys ride safe out there, stay vigilant, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.